First, we have Gary Vis, Director of the Lynden Chamber of Commerce, member of the Lynden City Council. Gary has helped build one of the strongest city chamber partnerships in the county. He's here to share how that relationship supports both businesses and the community, as well as considerations regarding incorporation. So thanks, Gary, for coming.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, and I guess if you want to introduce yourself more than that, tell us what we need to know, concerns, opportunities for partnership. I'll turn it over to you.
So a little bit about myself. As you mentioned, I'm on the Lynden City Council. Was elected 2 years ago, or 2024, I came on again. However, I had served for 10 years prior to that. I first got on the city council in '97. I was 27 at the time. Little did I know what I was in for. No, it was a great educational project. At that time, I was employed by someone you may all know, Adeline Derry. Spent 20 years there. The opportunity at the chamber came up. I thought, I'm sick of getting kicked by cows and delivering milk in the snow. So maybe we'll take a look at an office job. So I applied, I got it. Have really enjoyed it. Have learned a lot along the journey about nonprofits, chambers, especially, of course. One thing I want to say starting off is you have a very, very excellent chamber here in Birch Bay. Their team is something, and just the sheer amount of events they put on, that is impressive because it is not easy to put on events. One of the things I've learned, of course, one of the reasons I'm here is how important that partnership between a chamber and a city is. I had a conversation not too long ago with somebody and they said, well, you can't change zoning. You're just a chamber. And I said, you're absolutely right. That's why we've got to have a strong partnership with the city. Now that helped that I was on the city council because I knew the players. But your chamber will be the same. They're going to know who's involved should that time come. Ours goes back, the partnership goes back to when the chamber was formed in 1928. And it was because of some of the council members decided back then, hey, maybe we ought to form a little business partnership so they can have a say in what's going on. We're growing. We're almost 500 people now. No, I don't. It wasn't much higher than that. And that's how it started. And then the chamber or the city started funding us in the early 80s, taking a portion of sales tax and reinvesting it into the chamber because of the work we do. We've continued that relationship. Of course, I, like anybody else, like to go to the city and say, we need a little bit of a raise or need some more money. We tried to, even when I got back on, we had a laid out pattern of what we were going to do. Increases tied to certain things. It's been really wonderful. We're able to do things that maybe the city can't. For one thing, some of you may know, the city can put a bond, a levy, anything up. They really can't do anything other than education. They can't do advocacy, which I've always found strange because it's like, hey, I'm going to put this new, we're going to put a bond forward for a new fire truck. Well, of course I want you to vote for it because otherwise I wouldn't put it before you. But you're not allowed to do that. You can't spend taxpayer dollars. We can. Now, that's not using city money, but we as individuals can go, hey, you know what? We talked about it. Our board met, talked about it. We think this is a good idea. There's been a few times where I've gone in ahead of time on a policy or a zoning matter and said, I don't know, this might not work the way we will. So we're another ear that's out there. One of the things I have found, we had a city council member that I didn't take his seat, but he stepped down at the same time. And he would call me council member number 8. Well, council member number 8, what are you hearing in the streets? Because there is a hesitancy on a lot of people's part to talk to or interact with elected officials, or in our case, city staff, because they're worried they're going to irritate somebody, or I'm going to make them mad and then they're going to want to do anything. And so I spend a lot of time going, no. Okay. That's not going to be a thing, but what's your question? Or what's your statement? What are you concerned about? And then I can relay that back. In a sometimes anonymous way. A lot of times I'll say, can I share your name? Because it's important to have a name behind something. So we've done a lot of that. Probably our biggest task at the chamber is building community. Our little mantra is we build stronger businesses by building stronger community. And I think that played out in large part through COVID. Now I was in Hawaii when all that started, oddly enough. So I spent a lot of my vacation on a computer. But what we found out was, other than there was a few businesses that right away closed their doors. And those are what I would call the hobby businesses. It really wasn't a primary source of income. It was something they were doing kind of as a sideline or a hobby. They closed immediately. We never lost one restaurant or one other business during the pandemic, or however you want to phrase it, which I am very proud of. The other time I saw it really come through was during the floods. Ferndale got hit a little bit. Sumas and Everson were wiped out. I happened to get up that morning and call our mayor, who I've had a great relationship for over 30 years. And I said, hey, we got any problems in town? And no, I think we're looking okay, because we're at 108 feet, so we're kind of high. So our little joke is, if it gets to us and it's a problem, there's a problem everywhere else. But we talked about it. Okay, man, yeah, if we have to do something, we can put in things in place. I identified a few churches in the area and a couple buildings. Yeah, if we got to put people in somewhere, maybe we can do that. Half an hour later, he calls me back and he goes, you talked to those churches yet? No, we didn't really talk about it. I was going to talk to the churches. He says, we got problems. And it was one of our senior living places was, they're kind of down in the valley. They're not technically in the floodplain, but by gosh, they are close. And the water was starting to come up. So we as a chamber were able to make contact. We had a church that was already saying, hey, if you think you need to get out of the house for a while, come to us, talk to them. Okay, we'll take some people. Then we got a call from Whatcom County Emergency Management. Hey, how many people can they take? I'm like, well, what are we talking here? Well, we got to get people out of Sumas. Okay, so I talked to them. I think that night we put 120 in there, and then the next day we put about 150 in another church, and we had a third church ready on standby. The really wonderful thing for me was I had put out on our social media, hey, people may need some clothes or pillows or something, because you're fleeing your home, and I didn't know what they need. The response was incredible. I often made the joke, I think every Dutchman in London decided to clean out their closets. No. But I walked into one of the churches, North County Christ the King, which is quite a large facility, and there was people all over. They were eating, the food was taken care of. I had restaurants contacting me. Hey, we can do dinner. How many nights you need us to do dinner? Hey, we're bringing lunch sandwiches for everybody. You think we ought to have hot soup with that? I'm always a fan of hot soup. Bring some ice. And I walked into this sanctuary, and there was a stack of pillows as high as this ceiling. And I had two thoughts. My first one was, I really want to jump into that thing. Wanted to do this since I was a kid. I thought better of that. And then the second one was, this is what it means to be a community. It isn't, and some of you may read what I put out, but I always say a city is just a boundary. It's just a line on a map that somebody decided to go, okay, here we go. And then the next year it's like, oh, we'll add a little more over here. A community is when everything goes to heck in a handbasket and the people come together and they take care of each other. That's community. I think you have that in Birch Bay, big time, because we've had, natural disasters in the Bay. I mean, definitely, if you hear king tide, winds, epic rain, everybody goes, uh-oh. Oh no, what is all this? Or what's the other one? Pineapple Express. Yeah, you don't need to say that. River, what's it?
Atmosphere.
Atmosphere, number one.
We had Randy Small at Chamber Luncheon today.
Yeah. Randy lives right down the road from me, so it's great having him there. But that's what community is, right? It's people caring about each other, and that's where the chamber can play such an important role. You cannot make those connections when you're a city. Again, it seems like, at times, it seems like a faceless entity. You never really, yeah, sure, I know somebody there, but do I know them? But when you get people caring about each other is when it all kicks in, and that's what we try to do. We, through our events, through just some of our social media, through please, you know, hey, we got this going on, make a fundraiser here. Oh, this poor person got hurt in an accident. They're gonna need some financial help. Can we do something here? That's where the chamber plays its biggest role. And again, your chamber does such a fabulous job on so many levels. It's incredible. But if any of you got any questions, I can talk all day about how great Jamie felt.
Should we start with, we've got Dorley Booth and Molly Ernst from our chamber here, and then I think Danielle's online. Do you have any questions right off the bat?
Yes.
Thank you for coming, and I do know, I've been with the chamber now for 10 years.
Oh, wonderful.
And we're just getting more fabulous all the time. It's amazing. And we have our executive director, she's amazing, and Sasha's
She is.
amazing.
Yes.
And we just worried all the time that we're gonna lose that. But we're trying to keep them happy, right? Anyway, I was kind of wondering, I don't think people really understand how a chamber is financed. And is it lodging taxes within Lynden for you?
So we do, we're very blessed in Lynden to have that long-term relationship. So we do a split now of general fund taxes, which is your property tax, sales tax, and utility taxes is what goes into a general fund. So a portion of ours comes out of there, a portion of ours comes out of LTAC or the lodging tax. We have, over the years, we put in a request to the city for a certain amount of lodging tax, but we know, the mayor knows, all the council knows, that number could fluctuate every year, depending on what they want to do.
And during COVID.
Yeah, well, that was, we were very, very fortunate during COVID in that we always tried to budget conservatively. So we had cash stash in the city's LTAC fund. That's always important because you never know what's going to come up. You know, it could be. So I've been doing this. I've been working in Walker County long enough and familiar with the Canadian market that hey, I can't control exchange rates. It's out of my control. I can't control a 9/11 when all of a sudden the border clamps down. I can't control COVID, which was a huge one, right? So I always, and fortunately, the council members also recognize that it's important to keep a stash of cash. So we do a mix. Then we have membership dues. Ours are more than what Birch Bay's are. Bellingham's are much more than what ours is. And it all depends on who you're going to tap into and who you're going to talk to. Then there are the events itself. Events are tricky because it relies so much on sponsorship. And sponsorship relies on a strong economy where businesses are able to say, yeah, that's something we want to do versus it's kind of tight. I don't know if we can do it much. You can still pull it off, but it takes money. And we're able to use those funds, not just to put on the event, but like we own a building. I got to pay taxes, property taxes. I got to keep the lights on. I got to pay the gas bill. I got, everything a homeowner or anybody else needs to do, we got to do as an entity and get everybody paycheck at the end of the day. So that we leverage our events to the best of our ability. And then you have what's called non-dues revenue. Some chambers, that's a very big thing. Ours is not as much. One of the things we do is and this was started in the 90s when Bellis Fair opened up. Is we want a shop local program we call Cashback. We run it through the, right now, most of it goes through the private schools, Lynden Christian being the main one. And that's where our merchants give a 5% discount. 4% of that goes back to the school, 1% comes into the chamber. Right now, I think last year we did about $1.7 million in that. So we were able to get $17,000. We do a welcome basket program where we have, now we only have one, we used to have two, ladies in authentic Dutch coffee. They go and visit new people in the community when we find out who they are and if they're interested, we just don't go cold now. But they sit down with them and we actually have a list. What do you want to tell the mayor and city council? What's some of your favorite stores? What do you find attractive for Lynden? Where do you think we could improve? Kind of funny when you have new people, where do you think we can improve? Sometimes you read them and think, we're never gonna do that. But that also brings in revenue, and that's probably last year, it was probably, well, I'll say $8,000 to $10,000, somewhere in there. Our budget is a little over $400,000 a year. And we operate on 2.5 employees. So that's kind of how we.
A couple of follow-ups. Do you
Yes,
have HOAs or VRBOs, too many in the city or?
We have a few VRBOs, not a tremendous amount. We have a couple HOAs, one of them being Homestead, which you've probably all. Yeah. But then again, okay, kicking back and tying it in, community. Few folks just a couple weeks ago said, well, I got a mower and I got a tractor and I got a weed eater. If you drive by that golf course, it doesn't look like a golf course, but it's all mowed. It's all mowed.
Wow.
And it's all volunteers with all their own machinery and equipment, and time and energy. We always, as a chamber, we're looking for time, talent, or treasure, and everybody has one of those.
Wow. How did you get your building?
So if you go into downtown Lynden, we have our building is an old Bellingham Federal Bank built in '72, big old brick thing. It's the most out of place building in downtown Lynden. But it has a giant black walnut tree that Phoebe Judson, the lady that named Lynden, pioneer, planted. And there was a few folks that decided that tree needed to stay. So through a series of donations and a contract with People's Bank, a loan, we got a loan, we formed a nonprofit called the Our Town Foundation. And so technically the owner of our building is the Our Town Foundation. And paid a traditional note. We got some of that money that we get from the city, helps us pay the rent, which we have slowly paying back. Now, there was one time a few years ago, I needed a new roof, I needed a new entryway. So we refinanced the building, got really good interest rates at that time. Because it was $45,000 to redo the roof, $12,000 to do the entryway. Last year I spent 20-some thousand dollars on 2 bathrooms, which is like killing me.
Yeah.
But we ran new pipe all the way to the sewer system. But this year we were able to very early pay off our building.
Oh, wonderful.
So we now own out. Yeah. Yeah, now that doesn't help me pay the bills tomorrow, but I don't know.
Feels good.
Thank you, because we're looking at some of those very things, and you have to take a really deep breath.
Yeah, you do, especially now, we first made the purchase in 2004, so a completely different time, and we had friendly seller, somebody that wanted to do something, so he took the price down. But that's part of the reason we formed the foundation. Because as a chamber, we're a 501c6, I believe, which is a membership organization. The foundation is a 501c3.
Yep.
So that's completely tax deductible. And we have, over the years, run quite a bit of money that we've used for community assets. Some of you maybe are familiar with our lights when you go through town, like the entryway. We got, all that was fundraised and went through the foundation to raise that money. So it's, we've continued to do other things for community groups. Sometimes we act as somebody will come to us and say, so I want to give X amount of money to this group, but I don't want them to know who's doing it. And it's like, yeah, okay, I'll be your front.
Who does your beautiful flower trees? Does the city do that?
No, well, sort of. They help fund our downtown business association. So that's specific to that downtown core. And they hire a gardener, for lack of a better term, who takes care, if it's hot, she's out there twice a day.
They're gorgeous.
But usually every day, waters them. We get the water. Some of you have probably heard Lynden baskets. That's what those big things are named, because we had Van Wingerdens. We got Van Wingerdens right out by us too. Peace Portal Mike's brother owns Pacific Growers on Markworth Road.
Okay.
So they do that. We have Vandergeesen Nursery. They do a lot of the baskets that hang from
They're
the
just gorgeous.
businesses. Yeah, and we, you know, they get paid for their baskets. They give a volume discount, but
Mhm.
and then yeah, they hire a gardener and they got we helped them acquire a tractor with a big old water tank on it. And so you know they do get for a little bit of fertilizer every day. That's
Oh,
why
wow.
they get.
Thank you so much.
I
You're
have a
very-
quick question. Can
Yes.
you tell us the history of how you guys got the restrooms in downtown Lynden?
Yeah, sure. That was, so when I got hired, I had three tasks, one of which was you gotta figure out what to do with this restaurant. Originally, there was a plan to have it by us. And it would have been the chamber. Having worked a little bit with the Northwest Washington Fair, I do a lot more with them now, but. And knowing public restrooms, I'm like, yeah, we don't want that thing next to our building because then it becomes our responsibility. So it's the city's that was paid for with lodging tax.
Mhm.
Back then, we did not, or we didn't get a lot of lodging tax. We just tried to build that fund up. And if you're ever able to do that, that is a good idea because you never know what's gonna come your way. So say the polar bear, you know, world's record polar bear swim comes up and there's some additional expenses with that. You then have a fund you can turn to that you can go, okay, we need another $30,000 to pull off this event because it's all one-time expenses for something. So we spent, I'm gonna say $340,000 on those things. And then annually, the LTAC pays $25,000 to $35,000 toward the operation of that. Yeah, operations and maintenance. People do not treat public restrooms.
Yes, I
like-
do not. I've driven by them a
Yeah.
million times. I've never had to use one. So how many stalls do you have in them? And then does the city public works or the city?
Right now, it used to be the city public works. Right now, we have the city parks
Okay.
taking care of it. But that was a budgeting move on the part of the city. And if something really breaks and we need the public works background or skill set, then oh yeah, obviously we're gonna, well, they'll come in and do it. There's 2 urinals in the men and 2 stalls and 4 stalls in the women. And then we used hand blowers, air blowers instead of any paper towel. And it's concrete sink. And then we used brick in the Dutch architecture, Dutch, sorta. It's close. And that was one, we wanted to look good, and 2, it's durable. Brick is very, very durable, and then it's had several coatings of anti-graffiti spray on there. We have, our youth seem to be infatuated with a certain part of the male anatomy that they like to spray on everything. So it's important to have that.
Oh, yeah.
They did one on our old water plant, only they had to do it upside down. One of the public works guys goes, see? And I thought for the life of me, it was the space shuttle. Why did they put the space shuttle up there? He goes, turn your head upside down. Oh heavens. So, but that's how we paid for it. It was all hotel motel tax.
Okay. How did it take you to raise the money for it?
It was, oh, I don't know. We receive in, I'm gonna say 175,000 a year. Roughly, but like I said, we weren't spending much of that at all at that time, so that was, I mean. It was there in the account to
Okay.
use, but that probably built up over 4 or 5 years.
Question.
Yes, sir.
The money you save, do you
Yeah.
just put it in the bank or you generate interest?
We generally goes into our, so we're very seasonal in our income. We bill annually at the first of the year, January, or we'll start in, the first billing will go out in November, we'll receive some of that, then January, another set of billing goes out, we'll receive that, and then that just sits in the bank. As income is coming in, we have a money market account, and when we reach a certain dollar amount, I'll say between $40,000 and $50,000, we move it into a CD if we feel like that's a good idea.
Mhm.
One of the, like now, we don't have too much in a CD, because given the economy, I wanna be liquid.
Mhm.
I wanna have access to that cash if I need to, because I wanna get paid.
Mhm.
I love my job, but I got bills to pay too.
I think Charmin had a question.
You mentioned that when the chamber, it receives money from the city.
by becoming a city, does the chamber lose anything? Do they lose grant
chamber?
opportunity? If we become a city, will our chamber lose opportunities of grants they get now because they're unincorporated or?
I don't know specifically their income structure. I do know you receive a lot of that LTAC.
Yes, county.
And what did you say the LTAC amount you thought it was estimated?
We have short-term rental data from a couple of years
Yeah,
ago.
yeah.
It's a long story, but it was approximately 9 million in gross revenue for the 308 short-term rentals
So
in
that'd be
the
about
UGN time.
180,000.
And then I think 3% transient occupancy tax, that's like 270,000 that we're putting into LTAC.
Yeah.
We get less than that.
So as a city, you'll be able to take 1% and then you'll be able to take another percent. Not, yeah. And then the 1% is an actual additional tax. The other percent is actually a kickback from the state that goes into the LTAC.
We
So
also have Birch Bay State Park.
do you receive tax money from
Yeah.
them? No.
Well, the county does,
Yeah,
but
well, the
county.
County, yeah.
Yeah.
And that'll be interesting to see how that would play out, the state park, because you should. It's like, we've got the Lynden KOA, the hotels, some of where it can get a little tricky is the, timeshares.
Yeah,
Because depending on how long they have, they could actually exceed the amount of time where you would be able to charge, but that's for them to figure out.
How many-
Next to the pool comes.
sorry, how many hotel rooms in Lincoln?
We're just about 100.
Yeah,
Maybe just a
and-
touch over.
But
Not
that's
many.
not many, I mean, and that just
Two
came up,
hotels.
right?
Well,
The Inn in Linden and.
technically, we got 3. We got the little one along the guide when you come.
Windmill.
You come up the windmill.
Oh.
When people call and say, hey, we wanted to stay in the windmill, I say, okay. And they say, what, is that a good place to stay? That would be our budget accommodation. Oh, I'm picking up what you're laying down. So there's people there more than one night, yes.
We have a question, I think it's from Danielle with the chamber, just raised her hand.
Hi,
You there?
guys. Yep, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to add that currently this year we got $230,000 from Whatcom County lodging tax, plus an additional $25,000 to do the polar bear plunge Guinness World Record. I believe if Birch Bay incorporates that, there may be some time leeway with that fund, but probably eventually it would go away and we'd need to be funded by the city of Birch Bay lodging tax to continue to do what we do. And most of that 230,000 goes towards operations. So that doesn't actually pay for our event. It just pays for the operations of the visitor center, employees, rental stuff, insurance, those kinds of things.
Perfect. Do you have any questions while we've got you online?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Gary.
Yeah, you betcha. Good to hear you again.
I did have a couple of questions from other chamber
Please.
members. It kind of boiled down to 2 things. One is, what kind of help do you get from the city for holding these events? Do they share any of the duties? And then the second one, maybe would be best asked, kind of telling a story like the chamber has found it sometimes difficult communicating with the county the importance of some of our events, like the Derby Day parade that we do in the summertime.
Yes.
And so like when the chamber goes to them and says, hey, we want a permit to do this
Yes.
parade, there's no leeway and sometimes it's cost prohibitive. What is it like going to the city of Lynden and saying, we want to do this
For me?
event? Yeah, well, it's a unique situation because you're on the council.
But, well, yeah, but even before that, in the interim, and it's always been the same way. So most of the time, if a group or organization wanted to get a event permit from the city, they got a special event permit you got to fill out, you fill in all that stuff. Because our events usually involve closing the main thoroughfare, Front Street, and impacting Grover Street and Main Street.
Yeah.
And some of the stride streets, our council years ago made the decision that if you're gonna close that street, you need to come to the full council. So we submit one whole package I'll do it probably in February. And it'll list everything I need. Here's the streets I need, here's where I need barricades, here's where I need help from police on this, and bless them, bless them. We have never had to pay a bloody thing for anything of that.
For the barricades,
No.
for the extra police,
Nothing.
nothing.
Now, on the flip side, it's like, hey, guys, well, how's the barricades looking? Oh, man, we gotta get these things painted. All right, I'm not doing anything in January, so I'll go down and grab the paintbrush and we'll paint a bunch of barricades. And, or maybe, I'll buy something, well, for instance, the trailer that all are type 1, those are the long barricades, sit on, that's our trailer. It's like, well, why don't we haul them on our trailer? That way you guys can free up yours you don't gotta constantly go on and off, on and off, on and off. So that was our contribution to the cause. Now, even if I wasn't on the chamber, well, before I got hired on the chamber and I was on the council, why that was important to me, because I knew that entity was the one that had to build community. And I will point to, in your case, and using the county, beating up on the county maybe a little bit, no offense.
No.
Not Storm, they're great. You really need to make a connection with the elected officials. And you gotta tell their story to them, and you gotta explain that, when COVID hit, and you needed somebody to do a lot of the grunt work, and you didn't know who to go to, you used us. And we can only do that when we build community. So it makes no sense for us to pay you to use this park, because the community is the one that's paying for that park. We're just making a higher and better use of it for this day, to bring people together. Show off your amenity. Let them see where their tax dollars are being spent. Oh, look at this. Isn't this wonderful? I didn't know they did this. So we're really, really fortunate. Yeah. And they continue to do it. I often talk about how before an event starts, I get phone calls from our public works crew or the fire department or police, and they're saying, hey, so any changes? Do we gotta figure out anything? Nope. So for our lighted parade, I'll probably have 10 officers out there managing traffic. Same thing for Farmers Day. Raspberry Festival, they'll come and walk through, the fire department guys will come and walk through. Just keep an eye on things, see what's going on. So that part's wonderful.
Yeah, wow.
So I got no complaints.
Any other questions from the group or people online? I think that about covers it. We had a whole list of questions, but you answered so many of them.
Sorry.
No,
Great.
absolutely perfect.
I had some professional BS. Come from a long line. I want to close with this. Anything you can do to support your chamber is going to be multiplied. We add that multiplication factor. So if you're having an event and you give Danielle $1,000, she can turn that into 4. And then the manpower, the labor. Some of you may have gone to our city park and seen the Million Smiles Playground. That was a community build that was on the chamber when we did that. That is currently insured at about a replacement value of $3 million. We did it for $270,000. We used 2,000 volunteers, and we did it, put in over $12,000 of volunteer time. And that's what your chamber can bring to you, that very few other organizations can.
For the polar bear plunge, we need 150 volunteers, Sasha told us today.
What are you doing on the first?
No, yeah, I haven't gone to cold water, man. Either. I might come, we actually might come.
But you can volunteer.
Yeah, we might,
You
we
know,
actually might
and
come.
you have to be in charge of volunteers. I'm a volunteer.
Oh,
so I'm not.
very good.
But I have to be in charge of like 50 people.
Oh, man,
How do you do that? We're gonna find
very
out.
good.
In the water, you're gonna be in charge of 50 people.
No,
In-
on the beach,
Yeah.
and they're little.
I'll be in charge of the
If
hot
you're a
tub.
plunger, you can't be a
Yeah.
volunteer.
Yeah,
You're-
you can do that. Well,
Thank you so much
Yeah,
for coming in.
thanks, Gary.
No, thank you. I wish I stayed with you. I gotta head back home. And just so I make myself clear, I pick on the county officials every once in a while. I think we all do. Heck, I pick on the city council at times. The county staff is some of the hardest working people I have ever run into, and I've been to a lot of different communities, seen how their crews work, seen what they do. They really do have a what can we do spirit about them. Sometimes they don't always have the funding to do it, and sometimes they don't get that message from those in charge of policy. So we can keep those local connections, and anyway, have fun.
Thank
you so much.
See ya.
ya.
And keep at it, we'll get this. You will get there.